Hey, what's up everybody? Eric here, and in this video, we're going to be talking about the upcoming Flash movie and Zod, Michael Shannon himself, and some of the discourse that's going on all across social media. Over the last couple of days, you may have seen a lot of outlets pushing the story about Michael Shannon not liking working on the Flash, hating being on the Flash, preferring his Zod and Man of Steel versus the Flash movie, Zack Snyder quotes, things like that. So let's look at what was actually said and see if Michael Shannon did, in fact, hate working on The Flash. Just didn't like it. Let's see if that's the way he felt, because I'm very curious. This is the article that people are pulling from, which is the Collider article, which Michael Shannon on returning to Zod on The Flash. And let's scroll down here. We got two things highlighted we're going to talk about, but here's the first part here. And this is the one that seems to be, I think, the majority of the articles are pulling from this quote. And it says, did it feel different at all returning to the character, but he isn't quite the same character since he's different from a different timeline? And Michael Shannon says, yeah, I'm not going to lie, it wasn't quite satisfying for me as an actor. These multiverse movies are like somebody playing with action figures. It's like, here's the person, here's that person, and they're fighting. It's not quite the in-depth character study situation that I honestly felt Man of Steel was. Whether people think that's crazy or not, I don't even care. I really felt like Man of Steel was actually a pretty sophisticated story. I feel like The Flash is too, but it's not Zod's story. I'm basically there to present a challenge. So look, I understand to some degree how you could extrapolate from that Michael Shannon didn't necessarily enjoy his time on The Flash, but that would be adding context to what he said that isn't actually there. So what he's saying here is that the Man of Steel movie was a sophisticated story, which he also agrees that The Flash is too, but Man of Steel offered more for Zod as a character. Watching that movie, Zod is a very important part of that film. Zod is arguably the entire drive for why, you know, Superman does what he does and becomes who he becomes is because of that situation with Zod and the way Zod felt about Krypton and why he was doing what he was doing. There was a very layered story there because those two characters were the opposites of each other in the terms of the story. Whereas here, Zod is appearing to sort of, and I haven't seen the movie, so these are not spoilers. He's appearing, from what I understand, to sort of help retcon some of the issues that the DCEU had moving into the DCU. And so that's why he's there. That's his purpose in the movie. So there's not a lot of layering to do because we already know that story's already been told about Zod. This is just what would happen if Zod arrived and there was no Clark. There was no Kal-El. There was another person there. And so we're picking up from that point. So I get it. I understand what he's saying from that context. I don't think he hated working on the movie or that he necessarily thinks The Flash is not as good as Man of Steel in that sense. And even up here, he talks a bit about Ezra. I wanted to include this because I think this is important as well. And it says, people have been waiting for quite some time now for The Flash to finally hit theaters. What are you most excited for people to see with that? What should audiences be prepared for? And he says, honestly, to me, it's all about Ezra. I just think Ezra's fascinating, is a fascinating performer and actor. I can't wait to see this performance. It's a huge challenge. I don't want to give anything away, but what Ezra has to do in this movie is pretty crazy, and I think they're up for the task. I know a lot of times with movies like this, people are excited to see the big set pieces or the effects, but for me, it's always about performance. And that's really important because that goes back to what he was saying in his preview, or the comment that we looked at previously, is that for him, it's the performance. He's not someone that's into like the big actions. Like, we love that shit. That's what we love. But as an actor, that's not necessarily the most important thing for him. And that's fine. People get into acting for different reasons. And then he goes on to say, I don't care whether it's an Ingmar Bergman film or Avengers, it's always about performance. So for him, that's the way he views it. How good is the performance in the film? It's not about the action. It's not about the set pieces. It's not about the VFX. It's not about any of that. For him, it's about performance. And I wanted to point that out because that is important context to the comment that he made in the next paragraph that we looked at first. We did it a little backwards there. That for him, it's all about the performance. So he's not necessarily looking for, you know, the big action scenes or anything like that. He's really just looking for a solid moments from characters in the movie. And I think that's important context to have. And then over here, I pulled this up. This was something when he talked about Zod in particular, which goes to show just how much he cared about being this character and why he's so, I guess, passionate about it. And this is from an article over at MovieWeb. It says, in the Superman film that was released by director Richard Donner in 1978, Terrence Stamp played General Zod opposite Christopher Reeve as a Man of Steel. Shannon says he's a big fan of Stamp and his performance as Zod in the movie and made his own casting as a supervillain that much more exciting. With that said, Shannon also appreciates how this version of Zod was a very different take on the character. And this is what he had to say. It was a totally different take on Zod. Terrence Stamp was just mean. He was being mean to everybody. And if you go back and you watch that movie, that is kind of the takeaway from it. And my Zod was like, look, it's my job to protect my civilization. That speech he has, and now I have no people, I thought was really beautiful and heartbreaking. But I also like Zack so much. I really, really like Zack Snyder a lot. So this sounds to me like Michael Shannon as Zod is very, very passionate about the character he's playing, about the work that he's doing. And I don't think he hated being on The Flash. I don't think he disliked the movie or disliked his role in the movie. It sounds to me like he just looked at it from a different perspective, from an acting standpoint. And I get it. You know, outlets want sensationalism. In a lot of ways, all of the channels here on YouTube to some degree do drive, you know, things that way. But I think there's a responsibility for also offering a little context to what you're doing. And maybe that's not on the outlets. Maybe that's on the people watching. They see the title and they just run with that. That's Twitter culture for you, I guess. But it is quite exciting to see that, you know, it didn't seem to me that he hated being on the Flash movie. And, you know, for that, I'll take it. So let me know your thoughts and opinions on this. Do you agree with what Michael Shannon is saying here? For you, is it about performance? Do you care about the big set pieces, or is it just about you know, spectacle? Like is that what you care about in these movies? I know I love that shit, so I know a lot of other people feel the same way. So let me know your thoughts and opinions on that down in the comments below. And are you seeing The Flash coming up this weekend? It's going to be interesting to watch those numbers, and of course I'll keep everybody updated on where we are with that as the numbers start to roll in. And join us for the live stream this weekend, and we'll talk more about it. See everybody later. Take care.